This
Rocket Child.
is Rocket Child.
Rocket Child. Rocket Child. It's Rocket Child.
Rocket Child.
Hey, welcome to another speed drawing video. This is Rocket Child. So for this illustration, I am drawing a rescue helicopter from my short story called The Giant's Heart. I'll put a link in the corner so you could see some other drawings in relation to that story. So in this scene, Jordan is lost in the Australian bush, and so the rescue helicopters are looking for her. My idea is, because it's a very simple shot, to have the propeller going in the background. So I did a sketch a few days ago, as you can see in the light blue underlayer. Next, I'm using a brush to draw out the details, and I've got a photograph on the second half of the screen with a real rescue helicopter to use as a reference. I've almost actually finished the line art here, and you're going to see very soon that it is on the wrong layer. So no! So what I have done then is I just accepted that the drawing is done. I went and lowered the opacity and locked it, and created a new layer and made sure I was doing the line art on a completely new layer. Usually I do this, but for some reason I just I forgot. It happens to pretty much everyone who does digital drawings. You accidentally draw on the wrong layer. So here I am going again, doing the line art, adding in a few decorative bits and lines underneath the helicopter, and putting in the windows. So the perspective of the second photo is not exactly the same, but I am using it as a reference because at least I can see what underneath the helicopter looks like. And then I am using my imagination to match it to this particular angle. The perspective is not perfect, but I think it's alright. It's not too bad. Some people like to be super perfect with the perspective. I'm not too fussy. Usually because I like to do lots of different drawings and I don't want to spend too much time. Next, as you can see the bottom half of the screen, I'm using the Photoshop Animate feature, so I'm using the timeline with 12 frames per second. I also have the Anim Color and the Anim Design extensions installed so that I'm able to animate quickly. In the red lines, I drew a circle shape and I locked that layer, so that's mainly to be a guide for myself. And then on the different animated frames, I'm adding these rough, sketchy propeller bits. So they don't have to be perfectly at 90-degree angles or anything like that, because I want to create the illusion of motion, and by having them scratchy like this, it already adds that feel to it. It's not a very complex animation, it's just spinning around in a circle, so therefore I don't have to draw too many, just a few frames to get the effect. Then I am going and applying a motion blur in a radial circle direction, so it is blurring the sketchy propellers even further to create that illusion of movement. Now I am playing around with the timing to make sure that it looks good when it's moving. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to duplicate the frames that I have so that they will repeat one after the other and create that animated motion. Then I'm putting all of those propeller layers inside of a folder and keeping it out of the way, so that way I know I'm not going to draw on it again, and I could see the layers underneath it. I find if you're working with lots and lots of layers, having grouping folders helps to organize things. So now I'm working on the general color for the helicopter. I put down a base, and then I'm adding some yellow stripes on it. Seeing as Westpac isn't sponsoring this video, I'm not going to do it exactly the same as the photo, but making it interesting. So it's just going to be white with yellow stripes. I'm making the main body of the plane a very, very light yellow, so that way it's a bit more natural than just plain only white. And then using blue, a gray blue, to color in the windows. The general color palette is pretty simple. The main detail is going to be added with the shadows, because this is a very interesting angle. Everything, you're basically looking up at the helicopter from the ground. Therefore, all the shadows are going to be on the bottom. So I've gotten a grayish blue color again, and using the lasso tool, I am blocking out simple shapes for the first shadow layer. How it usually works, because the sun is in the opposite direction, coming from the sky upon the roof, the outline still has that bright color glow, whereas underneath would be where the shadows are. Then I've gone with another layer using the same color on the multiply blending mode. I am putting in more details, areas where I think there'd be ridges or textural variation would have their own separate shadow part. Underneath the wheels, for example, I don't even know what these are called, these bracket things, underneath the plane, underneath the helicopter, would be metallic, so they'd have a different kind of shading to them, very reflective. So I think in total there might be 3 or 4 different shadow layers. I would lower the opacity for them, so each layer would be fairly light, but when they are combined together, they get stronger in the intensity. Now I'm going through with a brighter yellowy white color, or no, sorry, take that back, a lighter bluish color, very close to white. And I'm going over the edges with a highlight. So I chose blue because the sky is blue, so that is a good bounce color. Once the helicopter body is finished, I'm then putting all the layers into their own separate grouping folder, and on the bottom I'm adding a sky blue neutral. I'm putting a light gradient, so from a darker blue to a white, so that way it's not just plain blue, but a slight, very slight variation from dark to light. Then I am going to choose a soft watercolor style brush, and I'm powdering in, using a white color, some clouds. So overall, I'm just checking and seeing how all the layers look next to each other. The propeller is made out of a very dark gray color. However, when it starts moving, it looks a bit too sharp. So what I'm doing is adjusting the opacity so it becomes a lighter gray, and you see this slight motion from the movement. This is a very subtle effect. I'm adding, using the overlay blending mode, a bit of a white halo around the edges of the clouds, so where the propeller hits makes the cloud look a little bit gray, because gray on top of white, whereas the blending mode effect makes it a little bit bluey, so that way the clouds don't look like they're dark like a rain cloud. It looks more illuminated from the sunlight and gives it a bit of a brighter glow. And so this is the finished artwork. If you liked watching this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know what you prefer to see. More illustrated works or something a bit animated like this one. Anyway, see you later. Bye.